Some movies that come out can often be based on a novel, a comic, a video game, or part of historical events. Then sometimes that works in reverse, where a movie will lead into the creation of something else, a video game, a comic series, or in some interesting cases, a cartoon.
Ooh, somebody stop me!
I put together a list of 15 weird attempts at turning a film into a cartoon. These are in no particular order, but these first 3 we are doing all together because they are all connected by one little factor. After the massive success Jim Carrey had in 1994, with 3 hugely successful films, he had not 1, not 2, but all 3 of those blockbusters turned into cartoons.
And they'll be seeing green instead! Smoking!
The Mask probably makes the most sense. It lasted 3 seasons and about 54 episodes between 95 and 97. Though it is not connected to the movie, and it takes very little from its comic book source material, it's still one of the more successful ones.
I am the Mask!
Ace Ventura was another successful one, lasting 3 seasons from December 95 to February of 2000. Dumb and Dumber was the least successful, lasting only 13 episodes in just under 4 months in 1995. Although they all came out the year after the films, it's still weird they would try all 3 of these films. Maybe one of them, especially The Mask, but all 3? That's just weird. Next up, Rambo is a Sylvester Stallone classic, but any real fans of the franchise know how extreme it can be. So in the winter of '96, they made a cartoon for it? Lasting 65 episodes, this caught a lot of controversy for being based on an R-rated action movie which was targeted towards children. Though the 80s was a different time, I'd have to say I somewhat agree. A cartoon based on Rambo makes no sense. The toys might have been cool, but that's just weird. Another one that's kind of weird, when you're talking horror B films that are meant to be campy more so than taken serious, films like that made up a good portion of the 70s and 80s, but not all of them were left living as single entities. Attack of the Killer Tomatoes came out in 1978. It has 3 sequels, but also a short-lived cartoon version. It ran for 21 episodes over the year between the second and third films. They made it kid-friendly, but that doesn't stop it from being weird. This one's probably a little more shocking than weird, but Teen Wolf. And no, not the successful 2011 Teen Wolf series. That is actually based on a 1985 Michael J. Fox film of the same name.
A wolf.
An explanation is probably long overdue.
And before this series was a thought, there was a 21-episode cartoon series created from the film's success.
Not again!
It's a hairy situation.
I'll die if anyone sees me like this!
It did not hit as well, nor did the 1987 sequel, Teen Wolf 2. What a weird history for this franchise? With an interesting turn of events, a Beetlejuice sequel is coming out later this year.
The juice is loose.
And it has hit many accolades for being a one-of-a-kind classic from the late 80s.
It's showtime.
Not only was it turned into an extremely successful musical being played all over the world, along with having a rather memorable video game on the NES system, but after the initial success of the first film, they made a cartoon series to continue that story. 4 seasons and 94 episodes running from 1989 to 1991. Probably one of the few you'll find that makes sense as a cartoon. And that cartoon led to 2 video games being made as well, one for MS-DOS and the other for the Game Boy. This one might not be weird, but this next one definitely is. Alienators. What is Alienators, you ask? Well, it's the evolution continued, as in the 2001 sci-fi comedy film. Yep, lasting 26 episodes, just under 10 months, it was adapted from the film Evolution from June 2001, the show coming out September of that same year. The film was not a success, and I'm not sure if they were trying to build something bigger, but they both were a flop. Though you would think after a poor reception like what the film received, you would axe the series completely. Well, they didn't, so it's out there, and it's weird.
Zero team has got control of the scene. Evolution.
This next topic has popped up a lot in conversations online recently. James Bond is an internationally known character with a tremendous history to follow, based on a slew of novels that I can't even count, being adapted into television, radio, and comics. Most of those who are not die-hard Bond fans follow the successful movie series running from 1962 to 2001, with the titular character being portrayed by 6 different actors. And then they tried out a cartoon. James Bond Jr. lasted 65 episodes from September 91 to March of 92, barely 6 months. Though it was adapted to grab James Bond fans, the character is actually not young James Bond, or James Bond's son, as it might imply. It's his nephew, which makes no sense, and that's weird.
James Bond Jr. chases scum around the world.
Now, sometimes good movies are never safe from horrible sequel attempts, but also they're not safe from weird attempts to bring it into other media. Friday, the amazing Ice Cube and Chris Tucker comedy from '95, got a cartoon made for it in the summer of 2007. It was only a season long, lasting 8 episodes. It's a shame we'll never get Last Friday, since it's been over 20 years, but we did get this short run cartoon. It's a little weird.
We got video stores.
Spider-Man 3.
Cartoons are meant to be fun with a foundation built on comedy, but mostly it's meant to be a way of portraying things outside of the norm. So when you learn that they made a Police Academy cartoon, you question where the thought process was for that. Lasting 65 episodes over a year and coming out between the 5th and 6th installment of this 7-film series. 7 films and a cartoon. The weirdest part of it all is that it doesn't even have Michael Winslow as a voice actor. Michael Winslow, a cartoon about a film with one of the best sound effect actors of the century.
Game over.
And you don't get him to sign up for it? That's not even just weird, that's just a fail. Now, another hot topic these days, there's a new Toxic Avenger film coming out, and it's meant to be a reboot to the original series. Anyone who knows Troma Productions knows and loves this franchise. But have you heard of The Toxic Crusaders? Lasting only a 13-episode run in the spring of '91, this was following the footsteps of the initial 3 films in the series. They did make some really cool toys for it, though. It's also the only cartoon Troma ever made. Weird and interesting. Something else that's interesting is that you would think a successful franchise about a lovable yet mischievous dog would translate tremendously well into a kid-friendly cartoon. Right?
Right?
Well, you'd be wrong. Beethoven lasted only 13 episodes in the winter of '94. I guess they really tried to make anything work after the success of the original. If you thought Beethoven was weird, they tried the same thing with Free Willy. Making animal films into cartoons was also a theme they attempted back in the '90s, apparently. After the success of the first film in '93, they attempted to capitalize on that with, you guessed it, this short-lived cartoon series. Lasting only 21 episodes within 6 months, it apparently was not all that good. But they did release 3 sequels after this, so it sort of has franchise status now. And last but not least, Little Shop of Horrors is a classic Rick Moranis comedy sci-fi musical. Did you know it was a remake of a 1960s film? What about the fact that there is a stage production of the film that's been running for over 40 years? If you said no to either of those, be prepared to have your mind blown. In the winter of '91, 5 years after the success of the initial film, they ran a cartoon series for 13 episodes. Really? Who thought that a cartoon based on a musical about a bloodthirsty alien plant would make a good Saturday morning cartoon? Do I have to say how weird that is?
Word, little shot.
I mean, these were all weird, and there's way more I could have gone into, but this video would have been an hour long if I did that. If you'd be interested in hearing about more of these weird cartoons they made, leave a comment down below and I can get a part 2 going. If you can think of a weird cartoon spin-off, comment that too. As always, I appreciate you all, and if you're thinking about sticking around, there's this little button down there that'll keep you coming back. Give it a shot. I hope you enjoyed this video, and thank you so much for watching. Cheers.